Welcome to this episode of the Compensation Insider Show. And thanks for being back with me today. Today, I'm going to be talking about some of the beliefs on work or how to behave in your career or your business if you're a compensation and benefits consultant or a total rewards consultant. And those are based on my 27 years of experience in the field and things that I learned, some easily and some in a more, let's say, hard way. And I hope you will benefit from those as well. The first thing that I absolutely believe is that if you're not replaceable, you're not promotable. So if you're not replaceable, you're not promotable. This is a sentence that a colleague of mine called Emmanuel told me many years ago. Actually, I was at the beginning of my career, about 20 some years ago, and she explained that to me, and it made immediate sense to me. Why would a manager give me a promotion and risk losing me as an employee if I'm not going to be easily replaced? If I have not prepared someone to take over my job, why would my manager let me go? Even for the greater good of the organization, makes it much more difficult. So it's very important that we all remember that we need to prepare somebody to take over from us. We're not risking getting kicked out. It's if we don't prepare somebody that we risk becoming redundant because we become a roadblock for others. So some of the tips that I can share with you, some very simple technical things. Save stuff in a shared drive so that you can easily do a handover. Don't keep everything just on your own personal hard drive at work. But more important than this small tip, I think it's very important that you empower your team members, that you empower somebody to learn some of the things that you know. And it's also important to realize that, yes, sometimes teaching somebody else something that we are good at doing and that we do quickly and reliably because we have so much practice in doing it is going to take us time. And it might be faster for us to do it ourselves initially. But actually, if we don't take the time to teach them, we cannot free our time in the end for ourselves to continue to grow, which leads me to my second, let's say, belief or recommendation is keep on learning. Okay, take charge of your learning. You should always be learning at work. It's very important. If you don't learn, you stay put. And if you stay put when everybody else is moving forward, you're actually going backwards. So one of the things that I've always done is on company time, my whole career, I've always managed to have at least 1 hour per week where I would do some learning. And the learning is not necessarily taking a class. For me, that could have been, I would identify some articles that I wanted to read but didn't have time to read. Nowadays, it might be a podcast, it might be a video, but it's important that you keep yourself exposed to different points of view, to different ideas, to new topics, to things that are sometimes just peripheral to your area of expertise, but that are going to make your own thinking so much richer. The other thing that I've always done is to try and save at least 1 day per quarter, but more often than not, it was 2 days per quarter, which I would dedicate to learning as well. And one of the things that I would do is just book a meeting room. At the time, we were in the office all the time. Book a meeting room and just isolate myself for a day to really do some deep dive on a specific topic and so on. I don't know if it's been a blessing or not. When I first started working personally in Comp and Ben, that was a topic which wasn't taught. The name in French did not even exist, so the concept wasn't even there. However, I did do things that now I know were part of compensation and benefits, like negotiating salaries with trade unions, establishing salary grids for new engineers and new graduates from business schools, and all these kind of things, doing job evaluations and so on. And I always made sure that I would have some time to keep on growing that knowledge. The knowledge in the beginning of career should be more on the technical side, because this is what expected of you. You have to know about the job and the techniques. As you grow more senior in your position and you start to evolve into supervisory roles, knowledge in softer skills, in behavioral things, in other aspects of HR, and then other aspects of business like finance and marketing and so on, is going to be more and more important, because your job becomes much more interdependent from interactions with other parts of business, rather than just being a job which is focused on managing the technical delivery on some aspects of the career. The other thing that you need to do is to learn to say no and place your work first. So this is something which happens especially when you become very promising in your career. People tend to give you more work. And at some point, you need to be able to go to your boss and say, hey, boss, I have to do this, and that. I can't do everything by the deadline. What should I postpone? So you're not saying you're canceling, but you're making sure that you are not keeping the responsibility of understanding really the expectation of what to prioritize, or that you make your boss fully aware of everything that is on your plate, so that you can find a way to not create surprises for them. Because it's very, very important that you manage the expectations for your manager. Another thing that you need to do and make sure in your work and your career is to ask questions until you make sure you fully understand. It's better to look stupid for 1 second than to make a mistake which stays with you for life, you know. And to be honest, I personally don't believe that asking questions makes you look stupid. I think it takes a lot of courage, because we are not necessarily encouraged during our upbringing to ask so many questions, especially at school. But once you understand that it is your responsibility to understand, and you start to make sure that you fully get what's expected of you, and you fully understand the situation before you start designing, I don't know, let's say an incentive scheme or something like that, it will make your work so much better that it's better to spend the time investigating in the beginning, because you reduce the risk that you do something which is not what was expected of you, and you don't waste your time. Another thing which is important as you're asking questions is to also pay attention to detail, and especially if you're looking at data, make sure that you understand the meaning of that data. One of the things that I keep saying to my trainees when I deliver my trainings is that you need to always try to put yourself to take a step back, and in that step back to look into understanding the big picture and what is the real meaning of what you're trying to do, so that you don't get enclosed into a policy, but you understand what was the purpose of that policy. Because sometimes managing or creating an exception is actually going in the sense of the meaning and the purpose of the policy or the program, then rather better than applying the program, to the letter. So it's very important. And once you understand your data, understand the meaning will help you to also better visualize things. And visualization is a field, data visualization is a field which is going to explode in compensation and benefits in the coming years. We see that happening in other aspects of HR already, especially in talent management and in recruitment. And it will be so important to be able to understand things properly so that we can represent them in a way which is good, and communicate about them in a way which is easy to understand, that unambiguous, and brings value to the business. So really, really important. Never forget to pay attention to detail and to understanding the meaning of your data. The final tip that I would have in terms of work and career is to write or update your resume every year, even if you're not looking for a job. But if what's happening at the end of the year, you look back to the year that just passed and you realize that you never did a new project, you didn't really learn anything new, there's not really something that you would update on your resume, it's an alarm bell for you, okay? So my advice to you would be give it one more year, okay? And see if you have learned something in that coming year. But if you haven't, and now it's 2 years that you've been doing the same job without change, without learning anything, without being able to put anything new on your resume, you need to be very careful. And if you're feeling stuck, it's time to leave. As I was saying earlier, if you stay put, it means you are moving backwards. So you need to find ways either to unstuck yourself in your job by asking to work on a project, by embarking on a training or a certification, by, I don't know, simply changing the population that you're supporting. Maybe you're a rewards manager for a certain product line in your organization. You can ask to be transferred to another product line or to be in charge of a new country or something like that. You need to have something that you can write down. It's important. It gives you a sense of progress. It shows to others in the outside world, and again, even if you're not looking for a job, but that there's a progression in your career, and there's a progression in your learning and in the complexity or the subtlety of things that you're able to handle. And no matter what, that will give you better opportunities, whether they are internal or external to your organization. And once you have updated that resume, please think of your LinkedIn profile, okay? Update it as well. And never forget to network before you need to have a network. If you start reaching out to people only once you have lost a job or you're about to lose your job and you want to look for a new position, it's too late. People need to think of you on a more regular basis, need to be reminded of you, need to establish a personal connection with you before they can give you some help. And so it's very, very important to never forget that good times are the best times to start networking. So this is my advice. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you next week.